Hello enemies and book lovers, my name is Ash and welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be wrapping up what I read in the month of February, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't really read much. So a few things happened in February. One, my boyfriend got sick, so I kind of like prioritized taking care of him. Two, mental health was like all over the place, so didn't really read as much as I would have liked to. I got into a really bad reading slump in February. I had a pretty decent TBR and then I barely read any of it. So this is gonna be a really fast, hopefully, video because I don't really have much to talk about. I only read 4 books in the month of February, so let's just get on with this and get through this video so that way this won't be too long. So before we start, a few things. First, book mail. Yesterday morning, I got a package on my front step. I didn't think too hard about it because I did win a Goodreads giveaway. For the first time in my life, I won a Goodreads giveaway. I am super excited about it. I forgot what the book title is, but it's like a sci-fi book that I'm actually pretty hyped to start. I'm hoping I can maybe read it when I get it. I'm not really sure when that will be. And so I expected to get a book in the mail from Goodreads, and I got a book on my front step. And I didn't really think about it because it was from Amazon and I should have known. It was in fact a package from one of you, and of course it was Jessica again, Homestall Hearth. You are honestly, I just want to say, like, I am so grateful for you all. Yesterday I was sitting on my couch, I opened this package up. Let me just show you what it is. Jessica got me Lore Olympus. I am super pumped. I have not read this. I think I tried starting it on Webtoon, didn't really continue it. I think I just wasn't in the headspace for it at the time, but I'm going to be getting to this now in April. I'm going to be getting to this in April, and I am so excited about it. First of all, the cover's gorgeous. I never thought I would own this physically my entire life, and now I do. So Lore Olympus was originally a webtoon. It is on an app, so if you want to like continue the series and you don't mind reading a webtoon, you could do that. I'm pretty sure it's Persephone and Hades, obviously a bunch of other Greek goddesses and gods. So it just follows the Greek goddesses and gods, but I think primarily Hades and Persephone. Like, the art style is gorgeous, and I'm so excited to get to it. Thank you again, Jessica, for always being amazing and just commenting and giving me things for my birthday. I'm such a baby, but I did cry when I received it. I've just been so grateful for everyone on here, for the whole booktube thing. I'm so grateful for it. I'm gonna stop being cheesy. I'm sorry, I need to get onto the video, but I'm just saying how grateful I am for all of you, and just I appreciate you all more than you could probably imagine. I appreciate you all so much for being there with me, and you know what, let's just get on to the video. I'm gonna stop. So for my stats for February, like I said, I only read 4 books. Let me just tell you what the ratings were. I think I gave 2 were unrated because one was a middle grade, and I don't really want to rate middle grade because it's not my age demographic and I don't think it's really fair. The second one was a nonfiction, so I didn't rate that as well, but there were 2 that I did rate. One was a 4 stars and one was a 4.5 stars. So let me just tell you about the stats for the month. So I read 4 books in February. Total pages read was 1,741, which is pretty low for me. Average pages a day was only 62. Average page count was 435. Fantasy is my most read genre, which is probably gonna be almost every single month. Books with representation was 3. Authors read from before is 1. Publication breakdown, I read 3 backlists and 1 from 2022. I continued 1 series, I completed 1, and I read 2 standalones. When I said I completed 1, I technically DNF'd the middle grade series, not because I didn't like it. I just don't really think I'm a middle grade person, even though I did enjoy the book. I just don't want to be continuing middle grade because it's not my age demographic. How I acquired the books, I had 3 library books and 1 owned book. And then for my breakdown, I read 2 fantasy, 1 romance, and 1 nonfiction. Okay, so let's just get into my wrap up right away. I read 4 books, like I said. I will talk about the ones I did not rate, and then I will go on to the ones I did rate. So the first one I read was Witchlings by Claribel A. Ortega. So it was kind of like a school setting. So there's a school setting, there's a bunch of different like younger people, and at a certain point in their academic years they have to be placed into a coven, and it was actually really cool. I actually really liked the aspect of it. I think my favorite was the moth coven. It was like the ones that all wear black, and like, I don't know, it sounded really cool. So they all have kind of like different color schemes, or they have different like personality traits, and so they get this pendant. As you can see probably on the cover, the main character has like a red pendant. You get a pendant with a gem on it, and then the gem will turn the color according to their coven that they're put into. And then our main character is put into the coven that she does not want to be into. She's pretty much the castaway, the one that no one wants, the witches that are pretty much going to be powerless by the end of it, although 2 other girls are also placed in the same coven as her. And I really like the dynamic within these characters. They are really precious. I loved all of them so much. All 3 of them were so sweet, and I really enjoyed the whole aspect of this book. I loved the coven aspect, I love the witches. There's a bit of representation in this. The main character is also Dominican, as well as the author, which is really cool. My brother-in-law is Dominican, and I thought that was really cool seeing some of the aspects I've seen with him in this book, like fried cheese, which is amazing. If you've never had it before, definitely recommend it. I feel like this is something I would definitely give my niece in the future because she's half Dominican. There's also a side character who's in a relationship with a women, so there's like a female-female relationship on the side. It's not really touched upon, but it is vaguely placed into it, which I think is really nice too in a middle grade book. There are a few content warnings, not very many. I would say this is recommended more for like older middle grade readers. So there's also a second cover. I'll pop it up here as well. It is, I think it recently came out or is coming out soon. So yes, recommend it if you're interested in it, especially younger readers. I think this would be amazing to read. The next book I read was a nonfiction. This is by Brandy Colbert, and this is Blackbirds in the Sky. I actually want to tell you why the title is called this. I have a picture of a quote taken from a survivor of the Tulsa massacre and a photo of the day that it happened, and if you can read the quote if you want, but essentially she says that the reason why the cover is called Blackbirds in the Sky is because there is a quote from a woman who says that she looked outside of her window, saw what she thought was blackbirds flying in the sky, and ended up being bullets. Which when I heard the audiobook saying that, like, I don't know, it's just a very impactful quote, honestly. I love this title because of that quote. It's very impactful. It's very impactful. So this follows the Tulsa massacre that happened in 1921, I believe. This happened in Tulsa, and this was when a white mob went to Tulsa and just started to kill a bunch of black people. And it got me very angry, which I feel like it's good. That's good to be angry about this, because this is something that was swept under the rug. Not a lot of people know about it. This is something that happened in the United States of America, so it's something that isn't really taught in the curriculum because it's something that people tried to hide for a long time. And I think that's really important to be reading this and knowing what's happening, because it's nice to teach ourselves about these types of things. I really want to read more Canadian history because I think that this would be really good to learn more about Canadian history for myself because I'm Canadian. Yeah, this kind of goes over the history of racism and kind of where the whole Tulsa massacre situation kind of began way before the actual events. It was rough. It was rough. Many things that were eye-opening to me, like things I never even knew about. How a black man just brushing up against a woman by accident, like accidentally bumping into her, placed into prison and then lynched and pretty much killed just because they bumped into her, which is crazy to me. And how there were so many accusations of black men putting themselves onto white women, which weren't true, but they were just said because maybe they did something that they didn't like a white guy just didn't like what a black man did, and so they would just say that he did something to their wife, or that woman would accuse him of something. That way he would go to prison and they would be lynched probably, and they didn't even do anything. They were completely innocent people. It also talked about the police force and how they have also stemmed from racism, and the very racist group that you might know of, they have stemmed from that as well. There have been people in it. It's just I read this and I was like, I understand now a lot more than I used to about US history and the racism behind it. It was very eye-opening to me, and I think this is important to read. I listened to the audiobook. It was amazingly done, and I really do recommend this, especially if you are American. Obviously, I think anyone can read this. Like, I am not American and I read it, and it just talks about racism and slavery, so if you're not really comfortable with that, I would obviously look away from this. But if you are not uncomfortable with it, then I would definitely try seeing it, at least looking up into it, at least looking it up and learning a little bit about it. You don't have to read this book, but at least learn a little bit about it, because I think it's something that's important to learn, because it's something that a lot of Americans didn't really grow up learning. So moving on back into my fiction, I rated the next book a 4 stars. I did enjoy it. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as the first one, but we're gonna talk about that in a second, and that is Shadows of Self by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second book in the second era, so technically this is the 5th book in the Mistborn series in general, but it is the second in the second era. I am enjoying this series. I am enjoying it. This one kind of started off a bit slow and I didn't love that, but it did get a lot better at the end. The ending was a harsh ending, but it was really good ending, so I'm not gonna complain about it, even though Wax, like, give him a break. Like I said in my other video, just give him a break. He deserves it. I think the reason why I like the series the most is because we see reoccurring things from the first 3 books. We see, like, people being mentioned. We see places being named after them. We just see a bunch of things that happened from the first series or the first trilogy. I think that's my favorite part about it, because the first trilogy was, like, some of my favorite books of all time. I honestly think The Hero of Ages is my favorite book of all time, potentially. So I'm just so attached to that trilogy that I think this is the reason why I'm enjoying this one, because there are a lot of things linked together with it. Like I always say, this is 300 years after the first trilogy, and we are following Wax, who is a new character. He's a lawman, and he's pretty much trying to bring justice across the wasteland. Well, not really the wasteland anymore, but he's kind of like in the city life now, and he's kind of trying to adapt to that. he likes being a gunslinger and all that fun stuff, but it's kind of difficult now within the walls of the city until things start going awry and people kind of start looking up to him for help in regards to what's happening around them. And it is a really fun time. I feel like Western steampunk fantasy vibes. You might like this. Like I mentioned before, it's like Red Dead Redemption with magic system in it. It's pretty cool. I'm enjoying it. Not as much as the first trilogy. This is only 4 stars. I liked it. I think the highest part of it was the ending. Otherwise, it was okay. I hope I like The Bands of Morning a little bit more than this one. I'm gonna try my best to see how I feel about it. So yeah, we're gonna go into the next one in March, and I'm already going to be starting it soon. I'm excited about it. So yeah, hopefully I'll like this. My boyfriend read this in one day. Still so jealous how you read so fast. I mean, it took him like 5 hours, but still, like, I wish I could read 5 hours in a day. I would get burned out if I did that. So yeah, he also loved it. He wants to continue this books, and I said you can't read it until I read it. So he's waiting on bated breath for me to read the next one. I feel bad, but he has to wait. So yeah, this is a 4 stars and I did enjoy it, so that's good. Okay, so my last book is one I did not have on my TBR for the month of February. I did not have it on what I wanted to read, but I was in a huge slump in the middle of February and it was really, really bad. I could not get into anything. I couldn't get into my fantasy books. I was kind of like fantasy slumped out, so I didn't want to read any more fantasy. So instead, I really, really felt like a romance. And okay, so I did not read Beasts of Prey, which I'm really sad about, but I did not want to replace Beasts of Prey with like a white author because I really wanted to try reading more diversely in February, which is ironic because I'm not really in March and I'm hating that right now. I'm really, really, really want to get past my series. A lot of my series right now that I'm in the middle of are white authors, and I really need to get past that so I could get into more like BIPOC authors. So with that in mind, I wanted to start another book that was a romance, that was a standalone. I did not want to start a series. I wanted to read a romance as standalone, and I remembered that I had a certain book on my Kindle. I had a Kindle book that I knew was from a Black author, and that was a romance book, and I ate that up. I ate it up. And that is Lilac by B.B. Reed. This is this book. I had to be in like the right headspace to read like a really like big heavy romance book, and this is what this is. So this is kind of like a hate to love / Billy romance with a band. So the main character goes into this band because their guitarist ends up overdosing. So a bit of content warnings within this book. He overdoses and they need a new guitarist, and so she kind of like puts herself in the situation to become their guitarist, but they just instantly do not like her at all. They just are really, really rough with her in regards to like treating her badly, and they're not very kind to her at all. Although there is an instant like attraction between them, they're just not interested in one another. I also forgot to say this is kind of like a why choose polyamorous book. If you don't know what why choose is, people are kind of going away from the word reverse harem and they're saying why choose now because there are, I think, negative annotations toward reverse harems. I think it's also just taken from something. So people are just calling it why choose. So like, why choose any of these guys when you can have all of them? So this is like a multiple love interest, 3 males and 1 female character. It is actually kind of I wouldn't say a slow burn, but for a book that's like 500 something pages, it is a pretty good slow build up toward it. I love that personally. A lot of people like when there's like a fast, you know, like intimate thing that happens, but for me, I don't like that. And there is an instant attraction within all these characters toward her. The one of them is very like, he pushes like instantly, he starts to like flirt with her instantly, and so I thought that this would be really, really quick romance. It actually ended up being pretty slow, and I really enjoyed the pacing of it a lot. There is also forced proximity trope because she has to end up being in their RV. They travel through with an RV to go from tour to tour, and they end up having to sleeping in the same quarters, and all their bunks are like right next to each other, so they constantly have to be in the same room together, and I really enjoyed it. It was just like a really, really fun time. So if you like why choose polyamorous, it is polyamorous, I would say, because 2 of the male characters do end up doing things with one another, and they also had a past with one another already. They already did things with each other in the past, so I would pretty much call this polyamorous because the other character, the third one, also says that he wouldn't mind. Like, there's things that happen that I'm like, okay. There's also a scene that I've never read with a white shoes before that I loved. I won't say what it is. I'm not gonna out myself, but it was the first time I ever read a white shoes book that had this in it with a smut scene, and yeah, this is very smutty. near the end of it at least. But the only thing I really will criticize is the big conflict near the end of the book. I think it was really, really random. I don't really think it made a lot of sense. It seemed to come out of nowhere. Like, I understand that you don't really need a conflict, though. It was kind of a little bit too much for me. It seemed a bit unnecessary, and like I said, it was a bit random. But other than that, I still really liked it. The epilogue was also a bit interesting, to say the least. But hey, I'm not gonna complain too much. I really think this was a really fun read. I read half of this book, so over 200 pages in one day. I remember waking up in the morning, reading this book, and pretty much the entire day I was just reading. That's all I did for the entire day, for like hours and hours and hours, and it was a great time. Yeah, I had a really good time with this book, and I would recommend it if you don't mind bully romances. Why choose? You know, if you like the Bonds That Tie series, you might actually really like this one because it has like similar vibes to it, but although this is a standalone, which is really nice. So yeah, I gave this a 3.5 stars. I thought I gave it a 4.5 stars. I might have to change that rating. I'll be honest with you. I might give it a 4 as well. Well, I have to go now because my congestion is getting worse and I can't talk very much. So okay, that's all I read for the month of February. Like I said, only 4 books. I don't mind. I think that I'm gonna have a lot better reading month in March. I already finished The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, and it's only like 3 days into the whole month, so I am happy with that. I'm also almost done Song of Achilles. I'll be doing a reading vlog on that soon. The next video should be the reading vlog on it if you look forward to that. You will see my misery. Actually, I haven't got to the end yet, so I don't know if I'm gonna be sad. Probably will though. So I will show you what I was supposed to read. This was my TBR when I set it up for in January. This is what I was supposed to read, and then I'll show you what I actually ended up reading and the star ratings for it. That should be it for the month of February, and thank you so much for watching as usual. I appreciate you all so much. Like I said, you all just make my days so bright sometimes. I love going on my booktube and watching like 20 videos in a day. I don't actually do that, but sometimes it feels like I have so many videos to watch, and I try commenting on as many people as I can, and I try watching as much as I can, and I just always appreciate you all so much. This community is amazing, and I just want to say thank you for everything, and thank you again, Jessica, so much. It made my day. It's probably the only book I'm gonna get for my birthday, so I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to read it in April. So with that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, hope you have a great reading month, and I hope to see you all soon. Goodbye, everyone.